Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things giallo here on The King in Giallo. Our next stop on our journey through giallo cinema is the second giallo film from Massimo Dallamano, What Have You Done to Solange, released in 1972. Well, let's waste no time and get right into it. Here is What Have You Done to Solange? Overview. What Have You Done to Solange, also called Who's Next?, Terror in the Woods, and The School That Couldn't Scream, is an Italian and West German co-production. The film is directed by Massimo Dallamano, who also co-wrote the film along with Bruno di Geronimo. Music is composed by the maestro Ennio Morricone. The cast is comprised of Fabio Testi as Enrico Rosseni, Karin Baal as Herta Rosseni, Cristina Galbó as Elizabeth Seccles, Joachim Fuchsberger as Inspector Barth, Günther Stoll as Professor Bascom, and Camille Keaton as Solange Beauregard. The plot begins as a wave of horror descends on a Catholic girls' school when one of its students is found brutally murdered. The killing is partially witnessed by another student, Elizabeth, who happens to be in the middle of a secret affair with her much older Italian teacher, Enrico. She only catches fleeting images of the attacker and chooses to remain silent, fearing the fallout it could cause for both of them. But as more girls end up dead, the truth about their relationship emerges, and Enrico quickly becomes a prime suspect. As the investigation unravels, it becomes clear that each victim is tied to a shared trauma involving a former student, one they've all tried to forget, Solange. From the outset, What Have You Done to Solange dives headfirst into themes of voyeurism, religious shame, and deeply uncomfortable violence with a sexual edge. This is the first in director Massimo Dallamano's loosely connected trilogy focused on endangered schoolgirls, and for many, it remains the most haunting. Though it was advertised in Germany as being based on an Edgar Wallace story, this was a marketing ploy. The screenplay, penned by Dallamano and Bruno di Geronimo, is entirely original and surprisingly intelligent for something so lurid on the surface. It flirts constantly with tastelessness, but never tips into exploitation thanks to the control and clarity of Dallamano's vision. His direction leans heavily into the film's voyeuristic core. The camera regularly peers through doorways, behind furniture, through glass or fencing, echoing the film's fixation on surveillance and secrecy. Many characters quite literally spy on one another, reinforcing a paranoid atmosphere where guilt and shame seem to hang in the air like smoke. Yet, unlike other gialli from the period, the film avoids going too far in its misdirection. The plot is tight, the red herrings sparing. Religion, specifically Catholicism, plays a central role in the film's moral and psychological framework. Elizabeth, trying to recover a repressed memory, eventually recalls a crucial detail. The killer wore a black cassock, suggesting a priest. The sanctity of the confessional becomes a plot device, used not only for atmosphere, but also as a chilling narrative tool. The killer exploits this sacred space to extract private confessions from potential victims, while the police are blocked from accessing any of it. This element adds to the suffocating mix of guilt, repression, and forbidden knowledge that defines the film. To its credit, the film never condemns the victims for their sexual curiosity, nor does it indulge in the hypocritical moralizing that drags down some of its peers, So Sweet, So Dead being a prime example. Instead, Dallamano and Di Geronimo portray the girl's behavior as human, tragic, and caught in a system that punishes rather than protects. The character work is especially strong. Enrico is no saint. He's cheating on his wife with a teenage student and may have had other inappropriate relationships, but the film allows him complexity. He's sleazy, sure, but he's also sincere, and as he becomes entangled in the investigation, we begin to see him less as a predator and more as a flawed man facing the collapse of his life. His wife Herta, played with surprising nuance by Karin Baal, starts off cold and distant, but is slowly revealed to be suffering silently. Her loyalty, despite the betrayal, grounds the film's emotional core and is handled with unexpected maturity. Inspector Barth, meanwhile, is one of the more restrained detectives in the giallo canon, measured, rational, and free of the usual bluster that defines so many police characters in this genre. Dallamano brings an elegant visual style to match the story's grim subject matter. Wide-angle lenses distort space in unsettling ways, while carefully controlled handheld shots add urgency without chaos. The film is beautifully photographed by Aristide Massicesi, better known later as Joe D'Amato, who also pops up in a cameo as one of the undercover agents. His lighting work adds a crisp, clinical edge to the school setting, and Ennio Morricone's score is another standout, alternating between melancholic beauty and jagged tension. It ranks among his most underappreciated works in the genre. The film's cast is anchored by Fabio Testi, whose performance as Enrico is both charismatic and morally murky. Often overlooked due to his model-like looks, Testi proves here that he had the chops to back it up. By the time this film came out, he had already appeared in The Garden of the Finzi Contadini, 1970, and would go on to star in cult favorites like Revolver, 1973, Four of the Apocalypse, 1975, and The Big Racket, 1976. He'd also return to the schoolgirl giallo subgenre in Rings of Fear, 1978, a spiritual sequel to this film. I mean, it's pretty much the same film almost. From the German side of the co-production, we get several veterans of the Krimi genre, Joachim Fuchsberger, Karin Baal, and Günther Stoll. Fuchsberger, known for his many leading roles in Rialto's Edgar Wallace adaptations, is perfectly cast as the calm, thoughtful Inspector Barth. Baal, a veteran of The Dead Eyes of London and The Horror of Blackwood Castle, brings unexpected empathy to what could have been a flat, unsympathetic role. Stoll, meanwhile, had already dipped his toe into giallo territory with Double Face and The Blood-Stained Butterfly. And then there's Camille Keaton as Solange. Her screen time is limited, but her presence is unforgettable. Long before she made cinematic history with I Spit on Your Grave, 1978, Keaton was working in Italy, appearing in genre films like Riccardo Frida's Tragic Ceremony, 1972. Here, she's spectral, an almost mythic figure whose silent suffering lingers over the entire narrative. Dallamano planned this film as the start of a thematic trilogy. He followed it with What Have They Done to Your Daughters, 1974, a more brutal, poliziotesco-inflected take on institutional failure. The final film, Rings of Fear, 1978, was completed by Alberto Negrin after Dallamano's sudden death in a car accident in 1976. Here is some further trivia for the movie. Mindful of the American aversion to dubbed foreign films, the production team decided that the shooting would be exclusively made in English language despite the accent of the actors. Consequently, the English looping coincided so well with the lip movements of the actors that no one in the US noticed the film was dubbed. I highly recommend the English version over the Italian. Despite a prominent co-starring billing, Camille Keaton, who plays the title character of Solange, has no dialogue throughout the film. When asked how she was cast for this film, Camille Keaton said during an interview, "Well, I met this gentleman on a flight and he started talking to me. He told me he was an Italian director and his name was Massimo Dallamano. I then went into Italian director Zeffirelli's office to take some photographs. I later received a call from the director on the flight who had done a film called The Portrait of Dorian Gray. He had seen the photographs I had taken before and he said he wanted me to be the main character, Solange, in the film. What have you done to Solange? He had directed plenty of giallo films. You know, it was just luck. I'm still proud of the film and its huge success." For the German release, the film was falsely promoted as being based on an Edgar Wallace story, likely to capitalize on the popularity of the Krimi genre. There is no Edgar Wallace source material behind the plot. This marketing gimmick was common in West Germany at the time. While filming the canoeing scenes at the beginning of the film, Fabio Testi reportedly fell into the cold water and nearly suffered hypothermia. The shoot continued without delay, showcasing the kind of rugged on-set endurance that was expected from genre actors at the time. Due to its graphic subject matter involving teenage sexuality, back-alley abortion, and sexualized violence, the film was censored or outright banned in some territories during its original theatrical run, particularly in the UK and parts of the US, where it was heavily edited for TV and VHS release. Although the story was set in England, much of it was shot in and around London, including interiors that were later looped in Rome. Like many gialli of the period, the entire film was shot without live sound and dubbed later, a standard practice in Italian cinema. This film is one of the best-known co-productions that merges the krimi traditions of Germany, gothic thrillers based on Edgar Wallace, with the bloodier, more sensual approach of Italian giallo. Casting Joachim Fuchsberger, a krimi veteran, was likely a deliberate bridge between both markets. In some international releases, Solange was renamed to more familiar-sounding names, like Mary, to appeal to local audiences, though this undermined the film's title and its haunting repetition of her name in dialogue and flashback. Thank you for watching this overview video. As of the time of recording this, What Have You Done to Solange can be found streaming on Amazon Prime and on Dailymotion. Stay tuned for my unscripted movie review for What Have You Done to Solange, as well as the Gialli Tally. Comment your predictions for the AZ score for the movie and the final Gialli Tally score. Thank you very much for your continued support. This is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.
An excuse for everything. Now, where is it? Did it fly away? What kind of knife was it? Was it a long one with a handle? A dagger, perhaps? A sword? The Archangel Gabriel come to punish you for your sins, I suppose.
Shut up!